You are listening to the My First Period podcast, and today we talk all things tampon tax, period poverty, hey girls, and bathroom camaraderie with Sheri Scott. Enjoy! Hello, and welcome to the My First Period podcast with me, Lucy Evers, and my guest today is digital multi-hyphenate, self-proclaimed loudmouth, Sheri Scott, or as you may know her, forever yours, Betty.
Hello.
Yay!
Hiya.
Hiya, how are you?
Oh, I'm good. I mean, we're kind of getting back into somewhat normality now, so that's pretty good. And I am becoming somewhat used to masks. It's not, I'm like, oh, I'm going into a shop, put my mask on. It's now starting to become a second nature.
Yeah, isn't that interesting how quickly that you adapt as a human being?
It's wild. Even I surprised myself. I literally just moved into my flat on my own in January, like just out of a big breakup. And so I was really anxious when all of this happened, because I was like, oh, like, you know, it's kind of getting flung into the deep end of like living on your own, because I'm not just living on my own, I am on my own.
Right.
It was like quite daunting, but like, as you said, like, you know, it kind of just makes you understand just how resilient we all are. I mean, of course, we all have hard times and difficulties and struggles, but like, you know, you just need to keep on doing it every day.
Yeah. Human beings are incredible.
Yeah.
Right. So I'm really, really excited to talk to you. So let's kick off with the story of your first period.
Well, see, I'm actually really upset with myself, with my younger self. I wish I could have a chat. Like, there's so many levels of insecurities and, like, you know, issues that were happening like around myself at that time. I was actually quite a late bloomer. I didn't start, well, they say late bloomer, and I hate that, because it's just, there's no right time to start your periods.
That's exactly.
Like, it's just, you start your period when you start your period. But I considered myself a quote unquote late bloomer, and was reminded that I was a late bloomer quite often by, like, you know, my peers. So I lied to all my friends and said that I'd started my period when I was 14, and I hadn't until I was like early 15. But the only person who I could tell that actually happened had happened was my mum, because I told everyone else that,
right.
Oh, well, obviously I've had my period. Obviously, oh, well, I'm still on my period. And I would blame, like, see what everyone else is doing. And, like, you know, if I was in a bad mood, it'd be like, oh, because I'm on my period. And I'm like, because that's a thing.
Right. That's quite interesting that you say late, because so there's a few people in this first series, one of whom is one of my closest friends, and she didn't start until she was nearly 18. So everyone I've spoken to has so far been like, oh, I started quite late. And then I spoke to her and I was like, you do realize that, like, you're the last person that I've spoken to that started their period. Isn't that interesting?
That is wild, right? Because for most of my friends, they all started at 13, like 12, 13, 14, and I was literally just like 12. My God. Yep. I think that's, like, you know, quite a lot for a 12-year-old. Like, I think that, God, I just remember starting high school and just it being like the most petrifying thing. And, like, I remember being in the assembly hall on the first day, and everyone was getting, like, put into their houses, and they read out my name, and my full name, like, Sheri Scott is my name, but Sheridan Scott is, like, Sheridan's my Sunday name. And they read out Sheridan Scott, and the whole of the assembly hall erupted in laughter. And after that, everyone was like, Sheridan. And I found that really, really hard to cope with. You know, imagine having that and a period
all at the same time. That's the thing. I think you said the phrase, and Rachel Hatley, who's also doing the podcast, said the phrase as well. There's no normal, quote unquote, normal time to start your period. Yet we see, I suppose, as a society, we see 12, 13 as because I suppose it's that teenage thing. It's that
becoming a woman.
Right, exactly. So we see that time to be normal, but nobody I've spoken to, bar me, actually started then.
And what I find very strange as well is the fact that I kind of had it in my head that because I was a teenager and, like, you know, starting to become like, you know, a bit more sexually experimentative and active kind of thing, like toying about with those ideas, I was just like, no, I'm a woman, so I need to be on my like I need to like have my period. And yeah, I think there was a lot of that kind of questioning going around. So it's like, oh, well, I can't be doing this if I'm not considered a woman. Like, that's me, a child kind of thing. And so that's why I lied to my friends and just like, no, because that then gauges my maturity.
Right. Exactly.
Ironically.
Were you at school when you started your period, or were you at home with your mum?
So when it actually started, I was at school. And then I was so excited.
Yeah.
Because I could come out and be like to my friends, oh my God, I just got my period. Does anyone have a pad? Like,
that moment of, okay, right, you know those things that are really colourful that are in your bag? Please, can I have one?
Literally, it was so funny because obviously, because I told them that I started my period before, like, I never had tampons or anything in my bag or whatever, like, because obviously I didn't need them. Yeah. And so I was just always super prepared. And so when it actually came down to it, and then like, yeah, I was very chuffed that I could actually ask for something, and like, you know, and then I went home, like skipping home, and told my mum, and she was just like, great.
That's such a lovely reaction that you were somewhat excited that you were like,
well, yeah, because I was like, I don't need to lie anymore. I can know what it feels like, what cramp is. Right. And what's funny though is that I remember experiencing cramp a lot before my period actually came. And it was like, and I remember like thinking in my head when my friends were talking about cramp, and I'd be like, oh yeah. And then I'd be like, gutted I haven't experienced it. And then when it came, I was like, oh no, I have.
This is not what chalked up to be.
Yeah.
So being someone that was quite young, starting your period, I suppose that's the thing, there's no normal time to start your period. Did you feel a peer pressure from the people around you? Is that why you think you said you started before you did? Because you felt that?
Absolutely. I think though, yeah, because they would always be talking about it, and just like it would just be like a kind of thing that they discussed. And I remember because I didn't know, it was so funny because then one of my friends was talking about tampons, and I knew that my mum used tampons. Like, so my mum would buy me towels, but I remember there was tampons in the bathroom. I remember some of the girls talking about tampons. I was just like, I don't know about that. And I remember one of my friends was like, oh no, you should try them. You should try one. So I was like, sure. So I didn't know what you do. So I just put it in between my lips, like horizontally.
Just hoping it'd just stay. Just close your legs, don't move, and it won't fall out.
And I would waddle. I'm like, why is this supposed to be better than I do?
Exactly. So that's really
it was so funny. It was so fun. And then I actually looked at instructions, and then I was like, it goes up? Hell no. Nothing's going up. No, nothing up.
Isn't that so interesting? Because I spoke about this with my friend the other day, because I don't use tampons because I have endometriosis and it's really painful. Mm-hmm. So I don't use them. And we were out and she said, do you have a tampon? And I was like, no, I only use pads, but you're welcome to a pad. It's absolutely fine. And she was like, no, they feel too bulky. And I remember sitting there thinking, but then you're walking around with something in you all the time. Surely there's a level of discomfort either way, no?
Yeah. See, that I'm a cup user.
Right.
So I'm a cup and pants person.
Uh-huh.
And so I have never really enjoyed tampons.
No, me either.
I would persevere and I would use it from time to time, but it would usually because an outfit required me to wear a tampon.
Right, okay.
Like, but I just never like the feel. I think it's because see even the thought of cotton wool, like
your teeth. Yeah, I totally.
It gives me that feeling.
Yeah.
It just doesn't. No. Yeah. So yeah, but I've heard really great things like that brand On do like you put CBD on tampons and stuff, and I've heard that's like amazing. Like, but I just don't think that. I think just in general tampons just
not for you.
Not for me.
No. So this is what I'm really excited to talk to you about, actually. So in March, I think it was, Scotland, you're Scottish.
Yes.
In March, I'm sure, February, Scotland became the first country to make period products free for students.
Yes, so this happened actually last year.
Oh, right.
And so what it's doing is it's keeping on expanding. So they keep on expanding it out to more places. So last year it happened that everyone in education can get the access to period products. And then it's expanding to like government buildings. So like, you know, swimming pools, libraries, like, you know, any open government facility,
right.
There's going to be free access to PD products. And also what's great as well is that they've got some cups in there as well. That's all most of the work that's being done. Each council is completely different, but most of the councils are like, because they use their budget, all of this budget has actually came from the tampon tax. And so it's because so basically what Scotland are doing, like, well, we don't believe in that, so we're just going to use this money, and like, you know, and they also put in lots of money from the tampon tax into like Rape Crisis Scotland, and like no, that was a lie. Rape Crisis Scotland actually lost a lot of their funding this year, but there's been other bodies that have been funded through the tampon tax. So Scotland is a really, really wonderful place because we are governed by different laws and what it is down south. So, and it's just the same as like, you know, this year Scotland just passed the law that LGBTQ rights and history needs to be taught in primary schools. It's really great that, like, you know, we're making quite great big strides in that. Most of the councils that are spending their money are using it through this Scottish-based company called Hey Girls, which they are buy one give one. And so for when they're doing their investment in saying like, right, okay, they need to buy 1,000 tampons and pads every month for this facility, what they can then do is they'll work with Hey Girls and make sure their donation goes back into the surrounding area. Now, Hey Girls donates to anywhere from food banks, women's shelters, and so it really means that, like, you know, by that council choosing to shop with Hey Girls, it means that they're not just like doing good by giving the free products, but they're actually giving even more free access to the wider community, especially low-income areas. So, because that's really what Hey Girls focuses on, is kind of low-income and just like, you know, people who really need it.
So that's really what I'm really pleased that you've actually mentioned them, because so Hey Girls is sold in Waitrose, where I live.
Yes.
Yes. And I started using Hey Girls because you posted about it. I
can't
remember, like a really long time ago. So I used to use a brand called Time of the Month, which is
Totem.
Yes. So I used to use them because they sold them in Tesco, and that was near where I lived. And then I moved, so it wasn't near where I lived anymore. So and I walked into Waitrose, and I saw Dame is another product, like a not a corporate owned one that's in, but they are tampons.
Yes.
I remember going home, scrolling on my phone, and you posted about Hey Girls, and then because of technology, I somehow got a sponsored post for them. Because
obviously
my phone is listening to me, of course. So I got a sponsor post, and I saw your post, and I thought, you know what, I'm going to try these. Let's just see what it's like, because I've got such sensitive skin, and things like Always, Body Form, they just it's just it's already painful enough as it is. I don't need anything making it worse. So I thought, right, okay, Sheri's posted about them. I've got an advert for them. I'm just going to go and look. And I picked the box up and saw on the top it says buy one, give one. And I immediately read that and thought, I cannot believe that has been sitting on a shelf in the shop I go in all the time, and I had no idea about them. If you have the ability to do it, and if you have a good foundation enough as a company, that is something that you can invest time and invest profit in, why wouldn't you?
Well, see, that's what's the beautiful thing about Hey Girls, is that they're not a corporate company. They're a social enterprise. They don't make a profit. It's everything just goes back into the reinvestment into into the community, and for the greater good. And their founder, Celia Hudson, is literally like an icon and a treasure. Like, you know, she is like such an inspiration. I can't like blow bubbles about her enough. She's just fantastic. And the work that she's done, and how far she's taken the brand. And I mean, like, I think that's them just broken the 10 million mark as well, for 10 million donations across the country. And if you think about that, that's only, they're not even 3 years old. Do you know what I mean? And so if you think about Always, a brand that's owned by Procter and Gamble, how much profit, and they literally get shouts from the rooftops, like, for every one pack that you buy, we will donate one of our plastic pads to someone. And do they? Do you know what I mean? And then it's like, and then so then here's this small independent all-female ran brand, you know, it's set up by a mum and two daughters, because she herself was in period poverty when she was younger, and then she was like raising her kids. And so when she was you know, like, you know, older and her kids are growing, like, you know, and she had this opportunity, she knew that was something that she was passionate about and wanted to change. So no other woman would have to go through that, or single mother would have to like choose between period protection and, like, you know, food.
Exactly. And I think this is the whole reason why I'm very lucky that the friendship group I have, we literally only talk about periods. It's quite literally what our friendship base is based on. And I
sounds like mine.
I love it. It makes me so happy. So I wrote down this stat that, honest to God, I'm going to read it, and it completely breaks my heart. So in 2018, this stat is from 2018, so I can't imagine how much worse it's got now. In 2018, over 350,000 like younger menstruators, so I imagine school age, obviously, missed education because of being in period poverty.
Yeah.
Like that, honest to God, I read that and immediately just thought, but menstruation is more natural than masturbation, yet we talk about masturbation all the time and we don't talk about menstruation.
Absolutely. It's another thing that Hey Girls are really, really passionate about. Like, so they've actually done quite a lot of different studies. There's so much, there's some more updated stats as well on Hey Girls website if anyone wants to find out some more information. They've also got this, they created this educational resource called the My Period Cards, which they're giving out to schools and everything to encourage, like, not just like, you know, like really young kids to know what is going on and what's going to happen, and for most importantly, boys.
Exactly.
Like, why this separation? And so it's like we need to like re-educate and start like again, because it is like people, like they're missing. They're not only missing school because they don't have accurate protection, but they're missing out in school because they don't have the accurate education to understand what's happening. And so it's like a double-edged thing. Like, it isn't just like, you know, give the period protection and then they won't miss school. It's the conversation.
Exactly. And I think what a lot of people don't realize is that period poverty isn't just down to the physical pad or tampon or whatever it may be. It's not just down to the fact that you can't afford those, because like Scotland have wonderfully done, they should be freely available. If condoms are freely available, pads should be
absolutely
available. So I think what a lot of people don't notice is that the problem doesn't lie with the physical thing. The problem lies with education, with government funding, that is what period poverty is. The basis of it is that there is a lack of awareness and conversation rather than just a pad that you hold in your hand.
Well, exactly, because then it's also understanding what is normal discharge, what is not, like, you know, how long should your period last, like, you know, how much should you be bleeding, like yourself, like, suffer from endometriosis, do you know what I mean? Like, the amount of, I've been seeing like, to people that I know have had conversations, and they've told me some of their experiences with their periods, and I'm like, you should really go to your doctor and just get double checked for the endometriosis, because by the sounds of it,
right,
it sounds like you're in a lot of like more pain, and they're like, no, but periods are painful, you know. So I think that it's like, even, and this is women who I'm talking to in their 30s.
Exactly. Anyone can be in period poverty.
And even in any different circumstance. I mean, like, there's so many. I always find it mind-boggling that you will go to a fancy hotel or a fancy restaurant or whatever, and then it's just like, you're out, you've got your gorgeous dress on, you've got a tiny little handbag, and then it's like, oh, your periods came, there we go, I'm just gonna have to, like, you know, use all this toilet paper and do all that. Like, you know, every public bathroom should have those types of things. And especially if you're going to a restaurant or a bar and you're paying £10 for a pint and they don't have, like...
Exactly. And you know full well, so Brewdog do it. I don't know if you...
Yeah, they do. Yeah, they use Hey Girls as well.
Do they? Oh, that's
they
so
do.
beautiful. The first time I went to a Brewdog in Liverpool, I was with my partner, and his mum is very lucky that she's never had heavy or painful periods. Lucky in the sense that she's not often caught short. We walked into Brewdog, I sat down, immediately rush of pain, shooting pain up my bum, and I just thought, right, okay, I'm on my period, great. So left my partner at the table and was like, I'm just going to have to manufacture some kind of something, because I'm only just got out, I'm not going home, so we're just going to I'll have to do something, I'll be back in a bit. Walked into the bathroom. As I shut the door, I just saw, and I squealed like a little girl. Why am I surprised? I shouldn't be surprised by that.
Totally. And it's, I think that, like, when I was doing some work with Hey Girls as well, like, I was talking to a lot of bars and just going, like, do you actually understand, like, it's not as if that you're, like, because if you have male and female toilet, you can't think that, like, 'cause you can't come out with, like, oh, but you don't want to, like, you know, offend, or you don't want to, like, literally, women celebrate if you see that, like, oh my God, I don't need to pay £3.50 for really, like, 80s tampons that you don't know how long they've been there. Do you know what I mean?
Know they've been sitting in there since, like, 79, and they're just...
I know. Oh, honestly. But yeah, like, I think that it's super important that, like, you know, the bars, restaurants and everything follow suit, and hopefully they do use like social enterprises like Hey Girls, so they can, like, you know, spread that wealth. But I think it's also something important to do, keep in mind, is that, like, although, like, we need to, like, with period poverty, it's great if you can shop with these brands, obviously, like, that are, like, organic and plastic free, because that's also why I switched over to the cup and the pants, because for me it was just, like, one of those easy changes, because there was something different. Because remember I said about the cotton wool aspect, the cup didn't give me that grossness.
That's brilliant. That might encourage people actually to use that, because I think a lot of people have I don't want to use tampon because of the like feel of it, whereas you're saying that you don't like that feel of tampon, but you love the cup.
Yeah. And so I was just like, and it was when I just started Beckie Girls, and I was just like, because I tried a moon cup first, like that, the brand Moon Cup, and I could feel it, and it was like, no, not for me, don't think so, no. And then I started working with Beckie Girls, and I felt their cup, and it was like 50-60% softer than the Moon Cup. The Moon Cup was quite rigid, and so I could feel it.
Right, okay.
And it was just like, it just wasn't, and it wasn't as bad as the tampon, the Moon Cup. It wasn't as bad, but I still still not for me, stick with, like, the rest. And then I tried that one, it's so much softer, and I think that's what made me realise that there is a bit of a kind of Goldilocks cup situation, because I've seen other cups in the market, and they're, again, some of them are even softer than the Hey Girls one. So I think that you just, like, if you've tried a cup once before and it wasn't for you, don't let that deter you from trying other cups. Because I thought as well, like, there's this cup that I'm very intrigued about, because it's like, it almost looks like, you know, the female contraceptive,
the, like, dome thing.
Yeah,
I can't remember what they're called, but I
don't know, but that thing, yeah. Like, you can't see me in the podcast, but I'm doing lots of hand action. But yeah, it's like a kind of dome disc thing, and so it still acts as a cup, but, like, the silicone is, like, so soft it almost creates like a baggie.
Right. So the weight of the blood pushes it so it goes down.
Yeah.
Right.
And so rather than it being a cup, it's just like a sphere with some cellophane, I guess.
Stretchy cellophane. Like bubble gum. Like it looks like bubble gum.
Yes. Yes. And that really intrigued me as well, because so for that one, they say that the benefits for that one is that you can wear it because obviously cups you can wear longer than tampons because there's no risk of toxic shock syndrome. But like, so this one, it says that you can wear like up to like 24 hours. You can have sex if you want to. It's completely safe. Wow. But then I'm like, how do you get it out?
I think because I've always had, because I've got endometriosis, I have such heavy periods. I'm actually on my period now. I have such heavy periods, and they're so uncomfortable that the quicker I can get in and out of a bathroom and back on a sofa, the better. Yeah. I'm not scared of my own blood, but I'm very squeamish to blood. So the cup's always, I've always been intrigued by it, and maybe one day, who knows? But I think I find a lot of comfort in pads. So
yeah, see, it's funny because I find pads grosser than cups, because literally because when I'm taking my cup out, I literally, like, I'm still on the toilet, I literally just like empty it while I'm still sitting down, and then I just like rinse it and then just put it back in. So it's like you're not really interacting with the blood.
Right, that's one day I do always think about it. Possibly,
I wouldn't recommend when you've got your heaviest period, like, because if you get endometriosis, I think that it's a personal choice. If you feel that, like, you know, you can get comfort in your pads and like they work for you, then why the hell not stick to that? Do you know what I mean? So I think that's the other thing, is that, like, although cups and pee pants are great, they're not suitable for everybody, and it's just like, although that they are like the most sustainable period choice, like, they do not work for everyone.
That's something that really interests me, because that trial and error basis, there's no dummy run for that. There's no practice route. It is trial and error. It is ruin a couple of pairs of trousers, ruin maybe your favorite dress, like be embarrassed in public. Like, it is trial and error. There's no as well, as much as I do believe that menstruation should be taught in schools to all genders and all varieties of the world, there's no way of teaching that.
No, exactly. It's just it's individual experience.
Exactly.
Always because I find that when my cramps are really bad, my cup actually helps my cramp. Because it's like the kind of tightening or something like that, and then it's just like, I don't know, it does feel like it helps my cramp. But when my periods are really, really heavy, like, so I usually get bad cramp at the very start and at the very end. Right. And so when it comes to the very start, my periods are really, really heavy, I'm the same. I don't really like to wear a cup, because I'm just like, I just feel like crap.
You just want to be curled up, like, please nobody even touch me.
So I use pants. So I've got 3 pairs of pants. 2 are from the new Hey Girls collection, and the other one is Thinks.
Yes, this is what I have, yeah.
Yeah, Thinks is the first pair that I got, and I loved them. And then I've got 1 pair of Hey Girls that's like for quite light, and then the other one that's for like heavy duty. It's a bad time.
Yeah. The time where literally you're like, I can't even possibly stand up.
They are a bit thicker, but you feel like, and they're high-waisted, so they kind of feel like you're
secure,
hugged a little bit. Like, it's nice. It's a nice feeling. It's not like high-waisted, like sexy. It's like high-waisted, like, let's give you some comfort in.
They're high enough that you can like tuck a hot water bottle into them and just like pull them up. Yes. My mum calls them your big girl pants.
Yes, I love it. Definitely big girl pants.
Sometimes you just need them. You just need a good pair of pants, and you're comfortable no matter what. Everyone's got their period pants. I remember hearing that stereotype as a kid and being like, no, I'm always going to wear really nice underwear. And then your period starts and you're like, oh, can we go to Marks and Spencer's? I need some big pants.
I need some cotton briefs.
Yeah, because I just need something that goes above my belly button and I'm cozy. That's all.
Yeah, breathable.
Exactly, yeah. It's like, I'm going to get a sweaty bum. This is what's happening.
Yeah.
So, as a whole, your menstruating life so far, if you could give your younger self any kind of precursor, any kind of warning, would you go back and would you tell yourself what periods are really like? Or do you think it's a learning curve?
I think, like, do you in your own time, be honest and have more open and frank discussions. Like, I remember the first time that I had a conversation with one of my best friends about period poops. I literally was like, I thought that was just me. And that was just like such a big revelation. And like my tummy's really upset, and having that understanding that other people are feeling that, and I'm like, oh, so have more conversations, but also, like, you know, allow yourself to be on your own path, and that's also okay, and there's no wrong way to have a period.
I think that's a really good point, is that, like we said at the start, there's no normal time, there's no blueprint for this, there's no this is what happens, like they describe it in every conversation you've had with teachers or TV. It's like, you get your period, oh my god, look at you, you're going through puberty, oh wonderful, you can go and play tennis in a white skirt, like these things have got real.
And also to not be afraid of smears and things. I think that was a big thing, because like I'm shocked, like, I mean, I feel like I'm for saying this, but like, you know, even talking to my stepsister, and she's even not had her smear, and I'm just literally like, can we just like,
it's so important. So many of these aspects of menstruation generally, there's so many points of it that we're terrified to talk about it with other people, we're nervous of what other people, and it comes down to that point,
is my vagina weird?
Exactly. And it's like, no one's is the same.
No, exactly. So everyone's weird here.
Exactly. Like, everybody's is completely different, because you know what? If they're all the same, life would be boring.
Have you watched that that Channel 4 documentary? Like, that was like 100 vaginas or 100.
No, but I want to.
But oh my god, you need to. You need to. It is so good. It's on Channel 4, and it was like literally a woman took a photograph of like 100 vulvas. And so I'm sure if you just put in Channel 4 vagina, it will come up.
Oh my god, that's
but like it's so good. And then you hear different women's stories about you know, like their relationship with their vagina, and it's really, really great. There's even like the comedian like Karen Hobbs, she talks about having her journey with cervical cancer, like getting diagnosed like in her mid-20s, and like, you know, and going through that, and like, you know, why it's so important that, like, you know, although they say that, like, you know, you don't need to go for a smear until you're like 21 or whatever it is, like
25 I think I was.
Oh yeah, 25. Like, see, I had a smear way before I was 25, because I think in Scotland it's 21.
Oh, that's interesting.
I'm pretty sure it's Scotland it's 21, because I had mine way before I was 25. And then when I got mine back, they were like, it came back like inconclusive, and so now I have to go every single year to get it done, because it's like it comes back like not great, but not bad. And so I now need to go yearly, and I've been going since I was 21. So, like, you know, it's good just to have those, like, you know, things just checked out. And so, like, if you are experiencing, like, you know, a lot of irregular periods, like, I mean, it's just, or like, you know, spotting throughout the month, or just things that you just aren't quite sure about. I think it's just like, have a conversation with your friends. Don't worry about what's normal, what's not normal, because like what's normal for you will not be normal for someone else. But what it will bring you is peace of mind, and perhaps an opinion to actually action something in case there is something that you could get a little bit more assistance with.
Exactly. And that's the conversation. I do think things like that have to start at school level, is those conversations in the playground of like, this happened to me, or I'm in loads of pain, or I've had pain in a certain area that I've never really had before. I'm so chuffed at 25, 26 that I can have a conversation with my friends. Like, I met them for a coffee the other day. we were sitting in the park, and I was like, oh great, I'm on my period. And I didn't want to go to the public toilet, not for just for comfort. So I was like, right, we're going to go and have to buy a coffee somewhere, and I'm going to have to use their bathroom because I need to go to the bathroom. Whereas I think even something like 5 years ago, I don't think I would have had the guts to do that. I think I would be like, just gone home. Whereas now I'm lucky to be in a circle of friends and comfortable and in tune enough with myself.
Yes.
I can say to someone, look, this is happening. That's what happened with my endometriosis diagnosis. I didn't think anything of it. I just thought I was having heavy periods. I thought sex was meant to be painful. I thought all of these things were just because I just thought naively, but no one had ever told me any different.
But exactly. And until you don't know until you know, and unless you talk about it. And that's just such a shame. How many years did you go through that pain where you didn't need to go through as much of the pain?
I can't even count. Because for me, it's just always been, well, this is what periods are. And I used to have conversations with friends in school, with friends. I used to dance a lot. So I'd always be terrified of going. I used to have like a spare leotard, spare pair of pants, spare pair of tights, because I just was terrified that one day I was going to bleed through my clothes.
Yeah.
So all that bit of shame, which is what it always manages to come back to, that shame has held me back. It isn't all of those adverts on TV. It's not climb a mountain or play tennis in a white. No, these things are not realistic. What is realistic is I have laid on the sofa for 2 days and I am grumpy as hell, and I shouldn't feel like I have to constantly apologize and explain that.
Exactly. And it's also, like, sometimes it is just about making it to the end of the day.
Exactly right.
It's not as simple as just like, oh yes, like I just aced that meeting and it's like few more left till I get to go to my bed.
Yeah,
it's not all. That's the reality.
It's not tennis and rock.
No,
this is not real.
Absolutely. And I think that, like, at the end of the day, the most frustrating thing I find as well, that sometimes that, like, even now that your period is kind of seen as like, I remember, like, I'd go out when, like, one of my exes and just be like, oh, my period, and they were like, oh, ugh. Like, oh, I'm sorry, it's a real big inconvenience for you.
I know it's pouring blood out of my body. I apologize for being in your way.
Yes, and so I think it's like the importance is to stress of not just educating the person who's having the period, but educating those around to understand what's happening. And it's not like, it can be a frustrating thing to go through, but it's not like,
I think
something that we should be.
I think that is definitely where it lies, is with the education, and is with the basis of these things happen. How do we educate the people around us to be more understanding with these things?
Exactly. Or even put two and two together that, like, their mum has went through this.
Exactly. Like, everybody knows someone. Like, I mean, menopause is a whole other conversation. And eventually I will do that, but everybody knows somebody that has a period. Whether that be your mum, whether it be a relative, whether it be anybody. You are going to walk past people in the street all the time. Probably they're menstruating.
Absolutely.
And it's that act of a little bit of compassion and a little bit of empathy, just to be like, I see you, and I know that this is rubbish, but it's fine, because we all do. This happens to so many of us.
Well, when you just look at, there's nothing more beautiful and pure in this world than a stranger giving another stranger a tampon or a pad in a bathroom. Like, am I wrong?
You are so right. When you sit there and you just think, well, I'm just going to have to ask someone else, and you just shout under the door, like, does anybody? And then they just appear everywhere.
Yeah, exactly. It's like the camaraderie, and it's like nothing brings strangers, like, and people who menstruate together more than just like, a conversation. Literally just a mention of, you could literally go into a women's bathroom and just be like, cramps, and then be like, rah! Like, you know.
Everyone's like, I've got CBD, you need CBD, I've got paracetamol. Yeah. That's literally what my work is like. We'll walk in, someone will walk in and they've got a hot water bottle in their pinny or like in our aprons already, and someone will just go, oh, what do you need? One of my closest friends in work, lovely Matthew, he's a wonderful, wonderful human being. And I walked in, it was just before my diagnosis, and I was really, really lethargic and tired. And I had a hot water bottle in my comfy pants, and I walked in ready to put my bag out back, and he just looked at me, and sheer panic and empathy on his face, and just went, do you need a cup of tea? I'll make you a cup of tea. Would you like a chocolate biscuit? And it's just like, if everybody
That's so lovely.
Isn't that wonderful? Like, if everybody just had that little, no, it doesn't have to be something like, do you need a cup of tea? It can literally just be, oh, you poor thing, do you need a hug?
Are you doing all right?
Yeah.
Like, you know,
like a genuine question, not a oh, she's on like an eye roll. Just a genuine,
oh, she's on her periods.
Exactly. And I think that's where that stigma lies, and the media is to blame, and like stereotypes on TV, and that's a whole wormhole of itself. But what we are raised, quote unquote, to believe a period is not what a period is.
Well, exactly. And I think that even like just even this whole conversation, well, I mean, it's not a conversation really. It should just be plain old fact with Mrs. Devil that is J.K. Rowling. You know, it's like starting this education, like it's just like everything when it comes to children. Children aren't racist. Children aren't homophobic. Children aren't like, you know, these are things that are ingrained in kids by their surroundings. And so when it comes to education and about menstruation, it means that like these children will grow up just going, right, okay, well, that's just a fact of life. Like, you know, people menstruate. This is what happens when they menstruate. This is what, like, you know, to expect. This is like, you know,
this is what as a stranger I can do.
Exactly. And it's like, that should be just quite simple, you know. If we ingrain that into the kids, then like, you know, the only bright things can happen in the future, because that's the issue, is the fact that like we shouldn't be fighting for things that exist. And so like
you're right,
it's not a debate, because it's there.
I think that's the thing. It's not a question, or it's these things happen, and the sooner as a society, as a world, I think education starts at your front door. I've always believed that education starts with your home and expands outwards from there, because you don't go to school from the day you're born. You don't watch TV. Education starts from your front door. So if you can break that stigma and that boundary at the get-go, then nobody will be disapproving or unaccepting, or obviously you're always going to get, if you've got one conversation, you're always going to have another side. And unfortunately that's completely unavoidable, but periods are unavoidable.
Exactly. And but this is what I mean, like, it's just like, I find it hard to comprehend that like opinions doesn't take away the fact that something exists. Let's just like, you know, start educating kids that dinosaurs didn't exist, because like, you know, fossils were like planted by aliens and like whatever.
If we're going to teach them that menstruation is this like hairy fairy wonderful coming of age, no, it's not. So why are we teaching them
Exactly. Let's just say the facts. This is the thing that's happening. Start it from an early age, and then the whole world will benefit. And the longer that we like, you know, start having these really unproductive conversations that shouldn't even be really be debatable in the first place, like, you know, the better, and actually get down to the actual work which is needed, which is like, you know, more education and you know, better access.
Exactly. And I think gradually things are starting to become, and it's taken a long time, don't get me wrong, but I think gradually things are going in the right direction with the work like Hey Girls do, with the work that Time of the Month do. There's so many incredible companies,
brilliant brands,
and they're doing that real work that is going to benefit a lot of people. It's such inclusive and such empathetic work, which I think is where that lies. If we can add a little more compassion and empathy into things, then
absolutely. Even like I loved it. What do you remember a couple of years ago? Because it was actually, that's what prompted me to try the Moon Cup originally. It was when Monkey brought out a campaign called Periods Are Cool. And then they were doing like moon cups and like they had like menstrual cups and like all these pants like Periods Are Cool and all these t-shirts and stuff. And that was the first time I saw a cup. And I went onto the Monkey website to do it and they sold out. And then I literally Googled cup and that's when I tried the Moon Cup. And so it's about these, like, you know, creating that normality, and it's and that accessibility to kind of be able to talk and discuss. Like there's tons of ways you can go about it, and I'm not saying that, like, you know, all these massive brands should like jump on the period bandwagon, but I feel that like that campaign for Monkey was really great because it made me try something that I'd never seen or done before.
It's from what's the phrase, from an outsider perspective, from someone who's I don't know their inner workings, but they seem quite an inclusive.
They're owned by H&M.
I know, and that breaks my heart.
It really breaks my absolute heart. It literally, it honestly does, because I really love the brand. I really love the brand.
That's why I love Depop so much. This jumper,
same.
30 quid.
Honestly, obsessed with Depop. And I'm the eBay queen. So, like, literally,
you really
eBay
are.
Queen.
You really are. You're very good at it. I think we've touched on quite a few wonderful things in this, and I'm really glad that you spoke to me. Thank you for talking to me.
Oh no, of course.
The last question that I am going to ask people generally, but I knew that me and you would talk about pads and cups. I knew we would. So the last question that generally I ask people is pads, tampons, and cups. Obviously, we've touched on this. So, yes. Is there any? Let's end with. Is there any advice that if you could say to your younger self or to other people, to relatives even, like a sentence that's just a little bit of advice or comfort, what would you say?
There's no wrong way, because that, I think I always just thought I was weird in some way, and every single thing that was actually normal. If in doubt, ask the question. Maybe that should be it, actually. If in doubt, ask the question.
That's wonderful. I love that phrase. If in doubt, ask a question. Thank you so much for speaking to me.
Oh, no, not at all. It's been such a pleasure. Honestly, it's been so lovely chatting to you.
Where can everybody find you?
You can find me at Forever Yours Betty on Instagram, Facebook, the rest of the stuff. But yeah, that's where you can find me. My Tangerine slice of internet.
It really is. I'm very excited for you. You said you've got your hair appointment soon. I'm very excited for you.
Can you believe I've never been this, like, in Wednesday I've got it, and I've never been like this rooty in my life. So yeah, I'm very excited.
Thank you so much for talking to me.
Not at all. Like, lovely to speak to you, and yeah, good luck with the rest of the podcast.
What a truly wonderful human being Sheri is. What a conversation. I knew before doing this that we'd have a super well-rounded and honest and heartfelt chat, but honestly, Sheri, thank you so much. That was absolutely incredible. I hope you learned something from today's podcast. I hope you learned something about your own body. I hope you really took in the things that we were saying, because I think they were very important and very, very relevant to a lot of our lives. Thank you so much for listening to this podcast. I am eternally grateful. Have a wonderful rest of your day. Have a wonderful rest of your week. And we'll see you again next time. Bye.